Lecture 5, Indian Extreme Pluralism and Persian Iranian Dualism. In previous lectures, you were introduced to monistic and dualistic interpretation of the Vedas, which Hinduism considers as sacred text. In this lecture, we will examine a few similar but non-Hindu Eastern religions, Jainism, Zoroastrianism, and Manichaeism. Jainism and Pluralism. Vardhamana, lived from 540-468 BC, was the founder of Jainism. He was considered to be a member of India's Kshatriya warrior class. After he chose the life of an ascetic and renounced his privileged state, he attracted followers. His followers called him Mahavira, which means great hero. Unlike monistic Brahmanism, in which difference is an illusion, Mahavira taught that the difference is actual. It is so actual that every creature has an individual soul. His doctrine of a plurality of souls led him to teach an extreme form of nonviolence. He even considered killing mosquitoes a forbidden violent act. In time, he also held that wearing clothes entailed participation in forbidden violent acts, since the production of clothes necessarily causes unwarranted pain to plant souls. Not surprisingly, following his extreme beliefs, ended tragically. Naked and hungry, he starved to death. Jainism also developed its affirmation of real pluralism by asserting, in their doctrine of manifold predictions, that there are many variations of truth. In other words, truth is relative, but not in the sense that truth does not exist. A story that illustrates this pluralistic concept of truth is contained in the following Jain story. And I quote, "An elephant was once brought into a village, home to 6 blind men. None of these blind men had ever encountered an elephant. Wanting to experience this creature, the 6 of them decided to meet the animal. Upon arriving, the first took hold of the elephant's leg and claimed that the animal is like a tree. Another grabbed hold of the elephant's tail and said, 'It's like a rope.' The third touched the elephant's tusk and asserted, 'It's like a pillar.' Upon feeling the elephant's ear, the fourth exclaimed that it's like a fan. The fifth felt the elephant's belly and described it like a wall, while the sixth, running his hand down the elephant's trunk, said it's like a branch. Since each of them were convinced they were right, they started arguing until a wise man walked by and calmed them down. Once peace was restored, the wise man affirmed that all 6 blind men spoke the truth, since each one was feeling a different part of the elephant." End of quote. A principal reason for this pluralistic concept of truth is that Jainism, along with other Indian philosophies and religions, rejects the belief of a creating intellect responsible for bringing forth the world. In Jainism, the universe has no beginning, does not end, and therefore there is no creator. Instead, the universe is identified with a multitude of transformations and creations by the billions of souls that constitute it, each with its unique karma. In order for the soul to transform itself and to create beneficial cosmic effects, it needs to grow in good karma. Such growth is principally obtained by following the 5 basic vows of Jainism listed in your transcript. Jain monks and nuns observe these vows to a higher degree, for example, by living out a celibate life, owning nothing, practicing absolute nonviolence, even in desire, etc. And these 5 basic vows of Jainism are: 1. Nonviolence, which it consists of not taking the life of any animal or any human being. Number 2, truthfulness. 3, non-stealing. 4, sexual chastity. And 5, non-attachment. Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism differs from both Brahmanism monism and Jainism pluralism. For Zoroastrians, the world is essentially dualistic. Its 2 realities and actual sources for all that exists are goodness and evil. Instead of understanding evil as an absence of due good, which Catholicism teaches, Zoroastrianism teaches that goodness and evil are equal forces enmeshed in an eternal cosmic struggle. Mazda is the Zoroastrian god of goodness, while Manya is the god of evil. Both of these gods are held to be uncreated, and, from this perspective, equal to each other. Zoroastrians only worship Mazda out of faith, but even though he is not all-powerful, as Christianity teaches God is, he will eventually defeat Manya, which is the evil god. This religion and philosophy was founded by the Persian priest Zarathustra, also known by his Greek name Zoroaster. It is not clear when he lived, most likely though between 1400 and 1000 BC. 17 hymns called Gathas are attributed to Zarathustra. These make up the Zoroastrian most sacred text. In the text, Zarathustra describes an essentially dualistic world, and I'm going to quote, "In the beginning there were two primal spirits, twins spontaneously active. These are the good and the evil in thought and in word and deed. Between these two let the wise choose aright, be good not base. And when these twin spirits came together at first, they established life in the denial of life. And so it shall be till the world will last. The worst existence shall be the lot of the followers of evil, and the state of best consciousness be the reward of the righteous. Of these twin spirits the evil one chooses doing the worst, while the most bountiful Holy Spirit of goodness, clothing itself in the imperishable heavens, chooses truth and righteousness. So will those who would please Mazda with righteous deeds performed with faith and truth. Between these two spirits the demon worshippers could not discern aright. To them deception came at the time of decision, and they chose the worst mind. With violence then they rushed together life in the world to destroy. And to support this life come Armati, the spirit of benevolence and right-mindedness, together with the spirit of holy power, the good mind and truth, that the soul passing through the test of truth shall be with thee, O Lord. And when there cometh the ultimate retribution for the evil ones, then at thy ordinance shall the good mind establish the kingdom of heaven, O Harura, for those who will deliver untruth in the hands of truth. And so may we be like those making the world progress towards perfection. May Mazda and the divine spirits help us and guide our efforts through truth. For a thinking man is where wisdom is at home. When then truly cometh the blow of destruction upon untruth, while those of good renown shall be received in the promised abode, the blessed abode of the good mind of truth and of the wise Lord. O ye mortals, mark these commandments, the commandments the wise Lord has given for happiness and for pain, long-suffering for the doer of evil and bliss for the follower of truth, the illumination of salvation for the righteous ever after." Mani and Manichaeism. In the 3rd century AD, a Gnostic and quasi-Christian form of Zoroastrianism was developed by the Persian Mani. The religion he founded is known as Manichaeism. This is the religion that the great church father St. Augustine believed in and practiced before converting to Catholicism. In his Against the Fundamental Epistles of Manichaeus, Augustine rejects Mani's claim in the opening verse of Mani's fundamental epistle. Here, Mani claims that he is, quote, "an apostle of Jesus Christ by the providence of God the Father," end of quote. Mani cannot be a true apostle of Jesus Christ, argues Augustine, because his teachings are heretical. Borrowing from Zoroastrian dualism, Mani teaches in the Gospel of the prophet Mani, and I quote, "Light and dark, good and evil are two opposite and co-eternal sources of all that is. They are mingled together when the ambition of evil to possess the light had to be countered by God sending a light spark from himself, the conscious soul, down into matter to uplift and purify the light therein entangled everywhere. Manifest in fivefold potencies or suns, perfectly reflected in the five aspects of the human mind, God's living spirit fashioned the universe as a means to separate gradually these primal sources. The story of the one soul is repeated by every individual soul aspiring to return to its lost kingdom of the light near God, and aided thereto by divine outpourings and the human messengers of the light who found religions." End of quote. Augustine counters this excessively dualistic assertion on good and evil by defining evil as only existing in good, and as an absence of good that ought to be present. In chapter 34 of Against the Fundamental Epistle of Manichaeus, Augustine argues, Nature cannot be without some good. The Manichaeans dwell upon the evils. But perhaps you will say that the evils cannot be removed from the natures and must therefore be considered natural. The question at present is not what can be taken away and what cannot, but it certainly helps to a clear perception that these natures, as far as they are natures, are good, when we see that the good things can be thought of without these evil things, while without these good things no nature can be conceived of. I can conceive of waters without muddy commotion, but without settled continuity of parts no material form is an object of thought or of sensation in any way. Therefore, even these muddy waters could not exist without the good which was the condition of their material existence. As to the reply that these evil things cannot be taken away from such natures, I rejoin that neither can the good things be taken away. Why then should you call these things natural evils, on account of the evil things which you suppose can be taken away, and yet refuse to call them natural good things on account of the good things which, as has been proved, cannot be taken away? End of quote. Continuing his argument in chapter 36, titled The Source of Evil or of Corruption of Good, Augustine further asserts, after thus inquiring what evil is, and learning that it is not nature but against nature, we must next inquire whence it is. If Manichaeus had done this, he might have escaped falling into the snares of these serious errors. Out of time and out of order, he began with inquiring into the origin of evil, without first asking what evil was. And so his inquiry led him only to the reception of foolish fancies, of which the mind, much fed by the bodily senses, with difficulty rids itself. Perhaps, then, someone desiring no longer argument, but delivery from error, will ask, whence is this corruption which we find to be the common evil of good things which are not incorruptible? For to answer in a word the question whence is corruption, it is hence, because these natures that are capable of corruption were not begotten by God, but made by him out of nothing. And as we already proved that those natures are good, no one can say with propriety that they were not good as made by God. If it is said that God made them perfectly good, it must be remembered that the only perfect good is God himself, the maker of these good things. God bless.